You know, the natural world is filled with things that are beautiful, majestic, and then some things that are just plain bizarre. I'm about to tell you a fact so strange, you're going to think I'm making it up. But trust me, this is 100% real.
Yep, you heard that right. The bare-nosed wombat, native to Australia, is the only species on the entire planet that produces cubic feces. We're not talking about round pellets or coils, but actual six-sided cubes with sharp corners. Which, naturally, leads to a very, very puzzling question.
It's a question that kind of breaks your brain, right? It seems impossible. For years, this was a genuine biological mystery that had scientists completely stumped. So, today, we're going to get to the bottom of it. We're going to find out just how the wombat pulls off this incredible and kind of weird feat of biological engineering.
Okay, so to solve this puzzle, we first have to properly introduce the furry little marsupial at the heart of it all.
And get this, we're not talking about a one-off, accidental cube here and there. A single wombat can churn out up to 100 of these little blocks every single night. They are literally cube-making machines.
So, the bare-nosed wombat is this adorable nocturnal grazer, kind of like a small furry tank, that lives in the forests and grasslands of Australia. And like a lot of animals, it's super territorial. It uses its poop as a kind of, well, a calling card. It's a chemical billboard to chat with other wombats. But that still doesn't explain the shape.
And this wasn't just a fun fact for trivia night. This became a serious scientific investigation. Researchers were genuinely fascinated and, frankly, baffled. They were determined to figure out the mechanics behind this totally bizarre biological function.
And you really get a sense of how baffling it was from this quote by Dr. Patricia Yang, one of the key researchers on this. When a biomechanics expert from Georgia Tech says something is weird, you know you're dealing with something pretty special.
So the team got to work. They studied the digestive tracts of wombats that had unfortunately been killed in road accidents. They carefully examined the intestines, even inflating them with balloons to test how stretchy they were compared to a pig's intestine, which they used as a kind of baseline. And then they took all that data and built a mathematical model to try and simulate the whole process.
And after all that hard work, they found it. The secret. Turns out, the magic doesn't happen at the very end, which is what you'd probably guess. No, it happens way earlier, deep inside the wombat's incredibly specialized gut.
Okay, so here is the major difference. In most mammals, including you and me, the intestinal muscles contract in a smooth, uniform, wave-like motion to push things along. But the wombat's intestine is different. The contractions are all varied and irregular, because the intestinal walls themselves aren't uniform.
And this is the absolute key. The wombat's intestine has these two rigid, more muscular sections and two softer, more flexible sections that run its length. The stiff parts contract quickly, which helps form the flat sides of the cube. At the same time, the softer parts squeeze more slowly, kind of methodically molding the corners. It's that mix of fast and slow, stiff and soft, that gradually shapes the cube.
Now, this whole shaping process has a really long runway to get the job done. A wombat's gut is about 33 feet long. That's about 10 times its own body length. This incredible length is the first major clue to how it pulls this whole thing off.
And not only is the intestine super long, but the digestive process itself is incredibly slow. It takes about 4 times longer than a human's. This gives the wombat tons of time to suck out every last drop of moisture, which results in waste that's extremely dry and firm. Basically, the perfect sculpting material.
So, where along this 33-foot assembly line does the shaping actually happen? Well, the researchers were able to pinpoint the location. It's all in the final 17% of the intestine. This is the zone where the material goes from being a soft slurry to a collection of solid, sculpted blocks.
And this is not just one big squeeze. To get that final perfect cube shape, the intestine applies an incredible 40,000 subtle contractions as the material moves through this final section. Every single tiny squeeze helps to flatten a side or sharpen a corner, perfecting the cube before it's even done.
Okay, so we've solved the how, we know the mechanism, but that just leads to the next big question. Why? Why on earth would evolution go to all this trouble just to create a cube-making machine inside an animal?
Well, the answer is all about communication. It's a billboard.
basically. Wombats use their poop to mark their territory. They climb up onto high places, like the tops of rocks and logs, to leave their droppings where they'll be easily seen. And what's the one shape that's guaranteed not to roll off a high perch? A cube. It's the perfect, stackable, non-rolling signal to say, hey, a wombat lives here.
Now, this is where a bizarre biological mystery completely transforms into something that could be incredibly useful for us humans. This isn't just a cool fact about animal digestion anymore. Understanding this process has actually opened up a whole new world of possibilities for human innovation.
The applications are surprisingly diverse. In manufacturing, it literally suggests a brand new way to create cubes from soft materials. For medicine, studying this could give us new insights into our own digestive health, or maybe even diseases of the colon. And for zoologists, well, now they can just look at a wombat's poop. The squareness of it can be a simple, non-invasive way to check if it's healthy.
I mean, this quote from Dr. Yang just says it all, doesn't it? Before this discovery, humanity had two ways to make a cube. You could pour something into a mold, or you could cut it from a larger block. The wombat just showed us a third way, forming it inside a soft tube. That could actually revolutionize how we manufacture things.
And that's really the biggest takeaway here. A mystery that literally started with wombat poop has revealed a fundamentally new principle of engineering. It really just makes you wonder, right? What other incredible marvels are hiding out there in nature, just waiting for us to ask the right and maybe even the weirdest question?